to Publish It Group Talks. I'm Lauren and our studio guest today is Basil. How you doing, Basil?
Pretty good.
Awesome. So nice to have you on the show. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're here, so yeah, that's good.
Let's make the most of it.
Yeah, totally.
So we just didn't tell the audience that the aim of the channel for new listeners, it's also a new channel, is creating a platform that lives up to a motto of arrive smart, leave smarter. So there's educational, it's informational, and hopefully also inspirational as well. The inspiration for the shows come from conversations that I have through my business and what I do. I do training and development and also have a design business. So work with a lot of amazing clients over the years and incredible people that I've had great conversations with that I've just decided that I have to record it. I have to get these people into a room. No one here is professional. We're all professionals in our field and in terms of that. But in terms of anywhere near film and like even being photographed or even doing this camera part of it, it's like, whoa, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So Basil feels the same, and we just want to create a good show for the audience that's informative. So we hope you guys enjoy it. We've had a lot of conversations around copywriting for web, and here I'm referring to specifically website copy. So we've got Advent of Grammarly, and I have a subscription myself. It offers me an extension for Chrome and allows me to correctly copy check content. And there's still some basic copywriting skills needed, or at least an understanding of what's required. But I mean, Grammarly is great. But while I'm writing for my site and I'm continually updating, WordPress is always telling me with this Yoast SEO that I've got installed.
Yeah.
It's always saying to me, less passive voice, more active voice. And then Grammarly's like, this is passive. And then I click through and I do a bit of research and I start reading. And then I feel like I need to have studied English to be able to kind of manage this. And I can understand that's why people pay for those services, because Google wants you to write almost robotically so they can find the stuff. But yet you still have to be personal in your approach.
You still have to be creative.
Exactly. I agree with you. And that's why I thought the audience could really benefit from just talking a bit about passive voice. And let's just talk a little bit about this. So what is the passive voice?
So there's active and passive voice, and the passive voice is basically it's your conversational tone. It's how we're talking now. There's very little active, because active is your commanding tone. It's the tone which you take to tell someone to do something. Right now we're asking questions and we're exploring an idea, and in that way we are using language that is best for a conversation. This is the passive. So if we take I do have notes for this.
Which we'll all share with you too.
yeah, we'll do that. So technically or grammatically, the passive, the verb is acting on the subject. So if we take the example of the train as the subject, and the verb is stopping, then passive is the station is where the train stops. Whereas active, the train stops at the station. So immediately you can hear or divine that the words used in the passive of the station is where the train stops. There's a lot more words to it, and it's where the subject is being acted upon by the verb, as in the train stops, or the station is where the train stops, as opposed to the train stops at the station, which is a lot more direct, and it's telling the story exactly. Yeah. So
the active voice it's almost as if it's like a call to action. Do you think that it would be a call to action?
Yeah. In a way, I mean, I think a call to action always has to be active, because you've got action in that phrase, and it has to be within your active. But even saying that, you do get websites where you still have a button, for instance, to register for newsletters, and it'll say submit, as opposed to subscribe now, or start your free trial. So even that slight change of using the word submit to just opening it up a little bit and going, this is a much more clear directive, and you're going to either get something out of this for the free trial, or you're going to you're just going to subscribe now is very clear in what it says.
Why do you think that there's a drive towards, and I'm asking this from a rookie point of view, because I'm going to say that my listeners are also young, aspiring creatives. A lot of us, and I speak for myself from years back, you can't really afford to hire someone to do a site for you. So you start a WordPress site, you want to advertise what you're doing. You now need to focus on how you're explaining yourself. Why do you think that Google's not liking a passive voice explanation in terms of how they're explaining what they do and what they can offer?
I think Google likes...
I say Google isn't like the machine. We type something in and it gives us a result. It's like...
I think Google's, all of their algorithms are very well coordinated, and what they do is to decide based on word choice the best way to say something. But of course we are still talking about artificial intelligence, which can never really have the creativity that humans have, yet it is able to pinpoint when a sentence is using too many words. If we take keywords as an example, then you would say it's keywords for apple and you sell apples, and every sentence has apples in it, apples, apples, apples. That's actually too many keywords. And so Google's going to flag you for that. When it comes to choosing like how to kind of reword that, it's got to be about practice. And I don't know if you've come across it, but there's a book which I can't remember the exact name, but it's something about mastery, and he uses a thing called the 10,000 hour technique. And so the 10,000 hour technique is forming thick neural pathways. When we are infants, we start learning to walk. That is one neural pathway of using your legs one in front of the other, and we take that for granted that most of us can walk, and it's just now a natural body process. But when we were infants, we had to learn this, and we had to form a neural pathway in our mind and get it so thick that if we take an extreme example, you can take exercise fanatics and do the power walking. Now they are training their muscles in a different way, so that walking pathway will have a small subset of power walking. With writing, as with anything else, the more you practice it, the thicker your neural pathway is going to become. You spend 10,000 hours on Adobe, you're going to get better and better and better at it.
You become an expert in it.
Yeah, you master it. But that's not to say that there is an end goal either, because you always have more to learn.
No, I agree with that. No, that's very interesting. How would you advise that us creatives could better write our sentences? Like, in terms of also remembering that there's keywords, like what is a good way to construct? Should we create like a vision board with words around it and say, these are the services we offer? Like, let's say we get a whiteboard or a piece of paper and almost mind map it. What is your advice for that?
I think coming up with the right words is it's a funny thing with copywriting, because it's often the simplest words that create the clearest message. So you can try and be like humorous and witty and funny, but maybe to you and the rest of that team, because you're in on this joke, it's fantastic. But to anyone coming across that and reading your article or your website, they're like, what does that mean? And immediately tune out. You've got like 3 seconds to kind of do that. And I think there's doing a bit of research, you will find that there are articles which will tell you. Sorry. There are articles which will tell you that there are 200 or more power words which you can use, and they are often emotive words. So, have you ever felt humiliated, for instance? And that is, I think, as humans, we've all felt humiliated at one stage or another, and that could be a lead on to a inspiration talk sermon, something like that, how to get your life on track, blah blah blah. And it's using these sort of power words that really bring your message clearer and more immediate to people.
And would we create those power words ourselves, or would it be somewhere that we can access? Let's say there's a site that we can go and extract and say, this is what I do, type in some keywords, and then it puts through those power words for us that we...
I wouldn't say that the power words are directly there, but as long as you use emotive words, so like very clear and sort of concise. So if you're looking at a headline, for instance, there are sites where you can just type in your headline and they'll go, either your sentence structure is off, your grammar's off, you're still using the passive, and so there are sites that do that, but you would have to go and check it out yourself, and it's really a quick Google thing, like power words to use right in marketing copy, and
Okay.
that would bring you to, the first sort of 5 hits, and you'd probably find something. I think the biggest thing with searching for these things is that because we're talking about copywriting, they have to be within that first page of Google, and it has to be good content, because if it's not, then it won't be there. You see the circle I'm doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. What do you find is a very good resource that you could go to? I mean, there are a lot of resources, but is there one particular resource that you use as a kind of a point of reference? Like I use lynda.com for training videos, and if I'm needing to research something and I don't have the answer for it, I find lynda.com is an amazing resource. I can go on, I can watch the video, and it provides me with a clear and concise answer as to what I'm looking for. Even if it's very advanced technical stuff, they've got such a great scope. Is there anything that you've got this go-to that you use?
The one website I do remember who actually pulled from a lot of other articles, and I went and checked out those articles too, and he's got his facts straight and everything, and that was www.stevemasters.co.uk, I'm pretty sure, otherwise .com, but just Google Steve Masters and copywriting, and something will definitely come up. The one thing that I have come across, which is great and always has specials, and how to, not for research but to upskill yourself, is Udemy. So udemy.com, and they're constantly running specials. I've gotten I think like 4-hour courses for like $100, and some of them are introductory and some of them go more in depth. And when you say a 4-hour course, they have little video tutorials, and then those you sit and you stay with that. So this can be a week or 2-week course. It depends how long and how deep you want to go into each of the tutorials.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I was just thinking as you were talking, like how as designers, and I say us, I'm just putting myself in the graphic design position, when would be a point that I, as a designer, should include a copywriter in what I'm doing? Because a lot of the time we're freelancers and we're working, and clients don't always provide us with a lot of copy and content, and they may not have copywritten stuff themselves. Should we allow for budgets in our quoting for someone to check stuff based on how much copy we having to input, or our client may be providing? Because a lot of the time you get clients who say, can you create this brochure for me? And then maybe the client is offering some sort of a service, and they're an entrepreneur, they've written the copy themselves, and now they've asked you to put the copy in. Should you include in your quotation a certain amount of time for a copywriter to look at that content?
Yeah, that's definitely a tough question. It's really got to do with the client and or what do I say? Client and freelancer communication and their where they stand with each other. I think the clearer you are with what your scope of work is, the better. If suddenly they're given this extra copy which isn't great and needs to be redone, if they want a quality product, then that should be charged for. If the client can't afford that extra copy work, then put it in as they've written it. It is. I think that in itself could probably be debated for a while, and depending on different people's perspectives, you're going to always have different opinions.
Yeah, it is tough. And some copywriters in the past have charged me per hour of working,
Right.
and some have charged per word. Is there a norm that we should know about?
There isn't really. It's again, copywriters are generally freelance. If you find a copywriter within a company, then that's their job, sure. And sorry, that's actually back to your original question, is where working with the designer and the copywriter, and I do think that should be a cohesive process. So you work together to form the idea, because just because a copywriter is good at writing and designer is good at designing doesn't mean that they should work separately and then hear from someone else and go, okay, this is sort of the scope. They should be working together from the get-go so that they can both have a clear idea of where they're going, work faster, work more productively, and essentially have a better product at the end.
Yeah, so let's not treat the copywriter as someone who's just checking to see if there's mistakes. See them as a creative that's as essential in the team, because they often get isolated. And you're right, they do have a lot of good creative ideas, and that's worth including into the process. I mean, some companies do, and other companies just do sideline them. It's just check, make sure this is right, so we don't have any problems when it goes to print or it gets published.
Yeah, and that's also got to be like soul destroying, right?
Yeah, kind of boxes you too much.
Yeah.
For those who are listening to the show who are thinking, like, what is a copywriter? And they may have started Googling this already.
Right.
Could you define a copywriter exactly? Like, I mean, I know it's like saying define a graphic designer, but there is a way to define it. How would you define it?
So it's not the guy who goes and copyrights things and gets the little C
Okay.
on the end. Okay?
That's good to know.
Yeah. We're not those guys. Copy is essentially everything that you read almost everywhere. Copy is its content. So if you've read an article online or a newspaper, a physical newspaper, it's that is your copy. That is your it's another subsect. It's, yes, journalism, but you still need that content to front the newspaper forward. Copy has also got a hell of a lot to do with marketing. So copy is writing headlines. It's writing for the web to make sure you've got all your SEO boxes checked. If you've seen an ad, then you've witnessed copy, basically.
That's interesting. So we just take words for granted here. But it's the choice of words, like you said, that in the headline and in the pull quotes.
Yeah.
That is selected specifically, written in a certain way to get a message across, to market something or to indirectly inform someone about something.
It's really, really interesting that the online, the human mind, you have less than a second to grab someone's attention, and that headline is what is going to grab that attention. After that, once that person has clicked that link, then you have, I think, I'll need to be corrected on this, but it's around, I think, under 10 seconds to keep that person interested. And this is where we come back to the passive and the active. If you were talking about, so if you have to click on a link and then at the top you've got a McDonald's ad, that instead of it saying, I'm loving it, it says, I'm being loved.
That means a whole different thing.
A whole other thing.
It's like,
right?
stay away, kids. Recently, we had run another AdWord campaign on our website. And even just the process of setting it up, and it's like, choosing the keywords, etc. While we were doing that, it felt as if you needed to ask a copywriter, can you run this campaign for me? Because you're trying to think of a headline and you think, okay, Adobe training Cape Town. And then they ask you for a second one and you're like, Photoshop. And then you start to feel like you're like, gee, like I don't feel quite professional here. I can't even string a sentence together.
Yeah.
And that's hard. It's very hard. Do you think that there's scope for copywriters in offering a service that they could run those campaigns on behalf of clients? That I could say to you, Basil, how much would you charge me to set up an AdWord campaign? I'll set it up, I'll put my details in, but for you to choose the keywords, for you to look at my site. Do you think that there's scope for that?
Definitely. I think people are doing that. There's SEO writers and content creators out there who specialize in that. So yeah.
You say, and content creators, I was reading an article about content curation. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what is that? Because that seems to be a new trend. I've just heard the word mentioned like a week ago. Maybe I'm not enough in that aspect of the industry to know that that's been a word used for a year, maybe longer.
Right, just based on the word curation, that whatever the copywriter has put out there, the curator would then go, okay, so where is, for online purposes, where is the best place to put this article? What are the best sort of links to use or URL words to use, and also then how you place your images. So it might have a lot to do with an actual article design, but again, stand to be corrected on that one.
I think it feels like it's a new emerging almost title, actually, as these titles come up. Like before, when we would never have to hire someone to do SEO and analytics, now we're actually hiring people under that job title that they're doing that. So I think content curation could be one of those where it actually becomes a profession that's a mixed profession of like marketing, copywriting, design, putting all that stuff together to make a product.
You're right, yeah.
We were talking about this the other day, but it was about speaking the voice of the platform that you're talking to. And that's becoming more and more apparent. It's that drive to say, if you're on Twitter, talk the voice of Twitter, talk to the audience, why they're coming to that platform, talk the voice of LinkedIn, talk the voice of Facebook. And so what is your opinion on that and creating that content?
So I, working for Free Lives, the indie game studio, and my other business, Hoop for Love, which is hoop dance classes, it's two completely different voices. And fortunately, I found that I'm able to take pieces of myself and put them into either of the social media platforms. So for Hoop for Love, I do very sort of heartfelt posts. I do uplifting posts, and I do fun things, like above ground sort of fun. Whereas with Free Lives, because we're the voice is a little bit sarcastic, sort of dry sense of humor as well. We kind of go below the line sometimes. So it's almost as if we, or the Free Lives voice at least, we try to make people laugh, but laughing either at themselves or we're portraying that we're laughing at ourselves while we're doing this. Like, look at us, we made a game and it's made a lot of money. That's pretty ridiculous. Like,
why are you guys even playing this?
Yeah.
But that's great, because that's finding the voice of your market and talking to your market, and that's why they like you so much, and that's why they follow you. It's a personality. I think that's it. Having that personality come through in your brand.
Yeah, and it also, as you said, it does change if you're talking on Twitter or Facebook, and again, that leads a hell of a lot into marketing, because you have to stay current with the trends of what is happening from Facebook side as a business, and how they are changing their their policies and their terms and everything like that, and the functionality of the website itself, so that you can better cater your voice to suit the platform's needs.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that's also, I guess that's also why if you're thinking about getting into copywriting, or you have a love for writing, you should definitely look at marketing as well.
Do a marketing course, even short course.
Just do a short course.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that advice. I think it's probably the best advice I've ever heard somebody give in terms of copywriting, is piecing those two together and saying, also learn marketing.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And tell us about Hoopflow Love.
So I've been hooping that's hula hooping, for about 5, going on 6 years now. It's actually how I met my wife as well. So we met hooping, and she couldn't speak when she saw me, which was adorable, and so we started.
She was speechless.
She was speechless.
There was no copy for it.
So yeah, it was really good, and a little bit bumpy, and then really good, and then we just decided that this is it. But in between that sort of bumpy, rocky period, we also decided, okay, so she wanted to create this hula hooping business, huge scope, performances, classes, hen parties, all sorts of other events, and then making hoops as well. And after 3.5 years, I guess we've toned it down to only do making hoops and classes. And what we realized during that 3-year period of teaching, she's a qualified teacher. So what we realized during that period is that our best, or our forte, is teaching. The way we teach and the style in which we teach, which is uplifting and inspiring and motivating, not only for learning hoop dance, but motivating to an individual. And that's where we get the most joy too, because we're giving of ourselves and we don't expect anything back. We just, of course, there's a little bit of money.
Of course, because there has to always be. It's fair exchange. Yeah.
But within the classes ourselves,
yeah,
we're giving of ourselves, and it shows threefold.
Yes.
At the end of each class, this is after a full day's work. We come and do this 3-hour class, and then we leave, and we're excited. We're awake and we're alive, and we're keen to get back. Yeah.
No, I love that. And I think it's so important for everyone to have a side project where they give back in some way, or go out and express something that they love as well. Thank you. That's amazing. Well, Basil, it's been wonderful having you in the studio, and I think there's a lot of great tidbits that you've shared that we'll definitely extract, share with the audience, give them some links to that. Maybe there's a couple tips or etc. extra that we'll just add that we've kind of spoken about, off the air as well, that I think that they may find interesting. And I encourage everybody in the audience to also get hold of me. Tell me what you think. Share your stories. I always say negativity is good as long as it's constructive, Come with the solution. Tell us what you think about it. If you think our copy and our content could be improved, then improve it. We are totally open to all these suggestions. And we're about creating a proudly South African network of creatives. And I think that it's an exciting project. And I hope that as that network grows, that the audience enjoy listening and learning from that. And that's what it's really about. So I would say connect with Basil on LinkedIn, but I couldn't find your profile.
No, that profile's so long dead.
It's died.
Wow, don't do that.
I could say find you on Twitter. Maybe.
So I've been working my 9-to-5er, and copy is now coming back into my life, I guess. You can actually find me I don't mind sharing my email directly. We'll
give your email link at the bottom, and I'm sure also they can find you on Facebook. We'll also give the link for Hoopflow Love, because I think it's a great project to share with people and let them see what you guys are up to. I mean, I hope that the audience have enjoyed sharing this time with us, and I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much, and thank you, Basil. And thank you, Luke, who's behind the scenes making this happen.
Yay!